Hello, and welcome to another ohmTown on Twitch. Need to move my chat so I can see it, just in case someone shows up in my chat. Hello, and welcome to another episode of ohmTown on Twitch. My name is Mayor Watt. I'm the mayor of ohmTown. That's the website right there. Again, like I do in every episode until further notice, give a quick rundown of what's going on here. ohmTown is a news aggregator, grabs articles from around the world and throws them into 6 categories, and within those 6 categories there are subcategories, but they're actually groups with forums, discussion boards where people can discuss the various headlines that get aggregated into ohmTown. Hopefully, over the coming weeks and months, and who knows, maybe years, I'm looking for hosts or co-hosts to discuss the news live here on Twitch. And the older news will be posted to YouTube. Pretty much, I'm working on a process to throw them in there every other day. So instead of today's episode going up tomorrow, it'll be up on Friday. And I'm working on other things associated with this, like a podcast, which has always been in the cards, but I didn't get to it yet. Anyway, the 6 categories right now are create, news, education, entertainment, social, and technology. Within those are 50 shows. That's why I'm looking for hosts and co-hosts. I don't think that I can do 200 hours worth of development research, on-air time, etc. And so if you are interested, then get in touch with me, and maybe we can put a show together just for you, or as a co-host with me. That would be great. I riff off of the audience, so the more there is in chat, the more then I can kind of mess around with and make the news relatable in some way. And that's what I do for a living in a different context. That's what I'd like to do for you here on Twitch as well. But since right now I don't advertise, I don't tell people about it. And if you stumble across the VOD or you're in my chat, feel free to get in touch or throw a message in chat. Either way, I hope to hear from you so that we can have a conversation about news. Like I'm going to be presenting today, 20 or so articles that I thought are either interesting or so absurd that they have to be brought to everybody's attention. And by everybody, I mean anybody who is listening to this. Let's see where this goes. So the very first article, let me turn my music down a little bit. My very first article is this, Order of the Grape. It's actually a White Claw product. So Of the Grape is for fans of wine. But White Grape is kind of like a spiked version of a carbonated water. Stronger, of course, has some better flavor for the adult side of things, because obviously it's not just seltzer, it's hard seltzer. There you go. Oh, and that's what it says right there. The newest White Claw hard seltzer flavor delivers a clean, balanced, and refreshing taste. I am not going to read the marketing, but it's a new flavor, passion fruit, that's going to be in variety pack number 2. The article comes from VinePair, and there they have that little graphic of I guess it's passion fruit cut in half in a White Claw hard seltzer, and it's written by Julia Larson. Go over to VinePair. They always have interesting articles about some product that's coming out on the market and other information. 100 calories, 5% ABV. They're always refreshing if you want something that is really light and, you know, it's tasty without being, I don't know, chemically or fake or anything like that. It's just a good, you know, kind of chill on the deck kind of drink. But go over to VinePair and you can check it out on your own. Oh, you know, what a horrible intro. I'm Mayor Watt. I'm the mayor of ohmTown. That's this site. And today is February 9th, 2022. I'll get this right one of these days. I'm already almost 40 shows into this and oh no, I think I am 40 shows into this and I'm still derping. In the height, oh, this next article is over on variety.com. The article is titled "In the Heights" star Anthony Ramos joins Marvel series Ironheart at Disney Plus. The article is written by Joe Otterson. And I didn't know that there was going to be an Ironheart series, but there is. Apparently, Marvel Studios declined to comment. Let's see what else is in here that might be interesting. Ironheart is one of several upcoming Marvel shows at Disney Plus. Others include Secret Invasion, Ms. Marvel, She-Hulk, and Echo. The latter of which is a spin-off of Hawkeye, which Variety exclusively reported on in March of 2021. There's also a spin-off of WandaVision starring Catherine Hahn in the works. Interesting. Lots of stuff going on. But go over to Variety and read more about it on your own. Come back and talk to me about it. Obviously, you can go to ohmTown as well and click on the link there and chat it up. Once you log in, I'm not logged in. That way I'm not generating revenue off of just scrolling through the content that I scroll through anyway. I'm actually blocking my ads on that thing, on the site, on that thing. But let's keep on rolling. I want to get this kind of down pat and smoothed out, and I am rushing because I wanted to get here before 6, and yet again because of work and other things I felt rushed. So, but here I am. Russell Crowe is joining the Spider-Man spinoff Kraven the Hunter. This should be interesting. I don't know if he's going to be Gladiator-like or what, but let's click the link. Another Variety article. The Gladiator star joined the cast of Kraven the Hunter in an unspecified role, so we'll see what he actually ends up playing. For maximum confusion, Kraven the Hunter is not part of the official MCU, although he appears in Marvel Comics. He's one of the characters who falls under Sony Pictures' Spider-Man licensing deal. I guess they're going to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. This is an article by Brent Lang at Variety. Go and check it out. Now you know a little bit about what's going on with this spin-off from Spider-Man, Kraven the Hunter. MCU, or Marvel in general, does such fantastic world building that there is endless possibility of movies and Disney Plus shows coming out that are focused on MCU assets. I can't imagine it ending, short of the entire world getting bored of the MCU omniverse just going nuts. They call it a multiverse, I suppose, but I think that's kind of focused on Spider-Man, and maybe Doctor Strange, which this No Way Home movie, I'm still waiting to see. I want to see it at home. I don't want to go to a movie theater, at least not while the pandemic is still even on the horizon. This next article is in the Mobile group, and it's sourced from phys.org. Parker Solar Probe captures its first images of Venus's surface in visible light, which, man, what an amazing time for us to actually be able to see the surface of Venus in visible light instead of its clouds. It's pretty amazing, and it's always interesting to hear from people who they can't imagine that this is actually a reality, where we're sending out what amounts to Star Trek level probes to go and look at things and send back pictures and video. We have a video of a probe landing on an asteroid and taking video of it and sending it back. It's just spectacular. Always fascinated. Hopefully one of the people who are listening to this, if anybody is listening to this, again, I'm about to start posting onto YouTube and into Apple Podcasts. So hopefully I'll get some more people listening to this. This next article is in the Warcrafters group. You're going to want to update your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth drivers today. This was aggregated from PC Gamer. I'll click the link, and it was written by Jacob Ridley. Intel has published a load of vulnerabilities found in out-of-date Wi-Fi and Bluetooth drivers. I'm going to have to take a look at them. I don't auto-update stuff because my systems are kind of complex with what I do during the day. And I want to know if something's going to break. So I do a bunch of other due diligence before I update. But if you don't have anything that's really wonky in your network or on your system, then update, because one of the main things that hackers use, or, well, you might as well just refer to anybody breaking into a system as hackers. The vulnerabilities that are known, and some of them they're known, but they're not known to the public. And so patches can be embedded in this and nobody ever even knows about them, really, because people within the company are doing investigations into the security of their drivers. Not to mention bug hunters for the bug bounty programs that exist. Just update your system and it'll solve a lot of security related matters. Nothing is always 100% secure unless it's turned off and sitting in your closet. And even then, if I break in and take your computer, it's obviously not going to be secure. But anyway, something really neat that PC Gamer does is they've got it in audio format. And I really like that. You may not want to sit there and read it, but you can click on it and do some work while you're listening to the article. It would be nice to have how long it is so that you can actually know what you're getting into, but it's probably a short, maybe not. Anyway, you're going to want to update your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth drivers. I agree. And this is the AX as well. So Wi-Fi 5, Wi-Fi 6, you're getting new drivers. So I guess I'm going to be updating later today. Just got to do some due diligence. This next article is in the Stock Marketeers group. Futures movers, oil edges lower ahead of supply data as traders watch Iran talks, Ukraine tensions. If you don't know, Russian ships and at least one sub moved into position by Ukraine. Lots of troops are on buildup along the border. Russia is saying that it's basically practice war games, but everybody is expecting the Ukraine, it's not the Ukraine, it's Ukraine. There's going to be some military action taking place in Ukraine. So this is Market Watch. Anytime there is any conflict anywhere, even close to oil, there is always going to be some movement in the price of oil. Myra Safong and William Watts, hey, cool ass name, William, wrote the article for Market Watch. So sometimes the price goes up, sometimes the price goes down. It really all depends on what exactly is going on and what OPEC is doing and what everybody is consuming at a given moment. If the US is buying at a certain level, what actions are taking place. So all in all, the biggest impactor on the price of oil is really what OPEC sets the price at, and then gas and other products that are made from the oil end up being the manipulation of the oil not the producers, but the manufacturers of those particular products, gas in particular. And it's so different across the states and overseas, and they pay a higher price because they pay per liter and we pay per gallon, and we think it's outrageous and they think that we're paying outrageous prices. But on the other side, we're paying dramatically lower. But we also travel a greater distance in a day. Typically, I'd say. But anyway, go over to Market Watch and you can learn more about oil prices end higher and they changed it again. EIA reports declines in U.S. crude and gasoline supplies. The original one, oil edges lower ahead of supply data. And now, just so you know, this article was first published at 8:14 a.m. and then modified, including its headline, sometime between 8:14 a.m. and 2:57 p.m. And it may change again. The content of it may change again. It's one of the more frustrating article edits that I aggregate. It's just so weird that they change the actual headline, but then they leave the URL the same. The next article is in Stock Marketeers as well. The ratings game, GM stock sinks toward 5-month low after longtime bullish analyst stops recommending investors buy. So I'm going to click the link, take you over to Market Watch. And this one was left alone, apparently. On the 8th is when it was first published by Tommy, I think, or it might be Tommy Kilgore. But then edited almost a day later on February 9th at 8:15 a.m. And it says GM stock sinks toward 5-month low after longtime bullish analyst stops recommending investors buy. Morgan Stanley's Adam Jonas downgrades stock, slashes price target by more than 25%. And I can imagine why, because it's hard to buy vehicles right now because of chips. And if you can't buy a computer for the car, then the car won't go anywhere. It's almost like we're going to end up in a Dune type era where everything is mechanical and there's no thinking computers. But the spice must flow. So at some point, something's going to have to be done. Either chip makers start pulling stuff back into the United States, or I should say vehicle manufacturers and others who need chips work with other domestic companies to produce something as like a co-op, so that we are building something low cost domestically and we don't have to rely on foreign markets, who till now haven't been prone to collapse, but we can't afford to put all of our eggs in another country's basket and then be impacted by something like the pandemic stopping production and crushing, absolutely crushing the distribution of products that are being made overseas. They're all just stuck because people are sick and things aren't moving very fast into ports and out into the market. So I think everybody needs to look past immediate profits and kind of settle down on the margins and immediate growth, because if we don't get a handle on things, we're I can't imagine what would happen if somebody decided to just turn it off. You know, okay, no more production of chips in X, Y, and Z country, killing, 50% of our production efforts. Computers and cars and everything is going to, price-wise, is going to shoot through the roof. So this next article is in The Word in Tech. It's sourced from The Verge. And Belkin's Wemo is the best HomeKit video doorbell, but it's not perfect. So let's click this link, and that's what it looks like. Basically, it looks like your standard other doorbell cameras. The same indicator that it's on, same silver and black finish, or white and black, depends on which one you're using at the moment. I use a Ubiquiti doorbell camera, and always recording. They all basically have the same function. It's all about really reliability and services that are added to it. But I pulled my doorbell away from HomeKit because I want to balkanize my security so that not everything is in one basket. Because if one thing fails along that chain, then you have zero security, really. So I have more than one type of device surveilling in given areas. And it's always better that way, because you don't want a single point of failure. That said, not everybody is willing to go to those extents. So Apple HomeKit users are a patient bunch. The development of HomeKit compatible products has been a slow process, especially when compared to competing platforms like Amazon Alexa and Google Home. Well, case in point, video doorbells. Yeah, not everybody wants a video doorbell. But there are a lot of actual competitors. I don't think that $250 is particularly expensive for a video doorbell, particularly when it has 1200 by 1600 video. Yeah, I don't know. So I can't say that they have their own review of it with good and bad stuff, as they call it. So go over to The Verge and take a look. It says it's fast and secure, but there are better options outside the walled garden. I don't know about better. I think they're all pretty much the same. The one thing that I've had a problem with is, like, I had a Ring doorbell, and the coating, even though it was an outdoor doorbell, right? Like all doorbells should, it had a coating that kept on flaking off. And because it happened after its warranty expired, I was basically told to go pound sand, and I ended up just bailing on it altogether and going with Ubiquiti, which worked well with my network, and that was the end of it. So I will probably not end up switching to another one for the foreseeable future, since I get high definition out of it, and it records everything 24/7, but they're difficult to get. So at least the Ubiquiti ones are. Okay, the next article is Blumhouse's Firestarter remake brings the heat in first trailer. So this is it's been aggregated into the group, The Word in Tech. And it's from The Verge. And I'm not going to play the trailer, at least not from The Verge's site. We can talk about it at another time if you want to, or I'll play it when I'm doing something other than the news. But Stephen King's Firestarter was a book and became a movie. Oh, my brain just, I forgot who it was originally. Anyway, I saw the original. The original was pretty neat for young me. They're remaking it, and the trailer's intro image looks just like the original. It's pretty neat. So I'm probably gonna like Firestarter when it comes out. From Blumhouse, producer of The Invisible Man, based on Stephen King's masterpiece Firestarter. And it's basically, if you've never heard of Firestarter, it's basically about a young girl who has the ability to set things on spontaneous combustion after being experimented on. Well, I should say being exposed to an experimental chemical. So she gets telekinetic powers. And I don't think it's her. It's the parents who were exposed, and then they had Charlie, the girl, and the girl has the ability to set things on fire. That's Firestarter, but there's a whole lot more to it, so I'm not really spoilering anything because it all starts out that way. Anyway, go and check it out. Charles Pulliam Moore is the one who wrote the article. This next article is housed in the Marble Group. What happens when a stealth jet ends up on the ocean floor? Well, we probably should send Firestarter to go boil the water away. New York Times. The article is written by John Ismay, and it has a picture of two, I think they're both aircraft carriers sitting out there. U.S. aircraft carrier Carl Vinson in the front, and in the Philippine Sea. Navy officials acknowledge that a fighter jet trying to land on the carrier last month slammed into the rear of the flight deck and fell into the ocean. And if it's a stealth fighter, oh, it's F-35 Joint Strike Fighter. That's not stealth. That's not a stealth jet. I mean, it has stealth components, but every jet does. I mean, and every modern jet does. I mean, they usually have special paint, anti-radar reflective paint, reducing the radar signature to like the size of a bird. Anyway, F-35 Joint Strike Fighter is a fascinating plane. It's a fighter jet. It's not just a plane, but anyway, it had cost overruns, and then it was the plans for it were stolen, and China suddenly released this, basically a clone of the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter. But obviously when it was actually found out to exist, it showed obvious signs that it just couldn't measure up to the F-35. Pardon me. Oh my goodness. Sorry about the coughing. That caught up on me. Just kind of surprised me. So what happens is they're going to do everything they can to either destroy it so that nothing can be recovered, or they're going to go and pick it up. So I can imagine they're going to be sending some deep ocean equipment to go and get it. Maybe they can send the metal detector specialist from the Curse of Oak Island down to find it. And they still haven't found the treasure on Oak Island yet. So many seasons, so many ends to the episodes where you're teased into thinking that next episode. You should go and check out that show if you're listening to this. Go and check it out. The Curse of Oak Island has nothing to do with my show or any of the news, but it's a fun show to watch. Probably one of my guilty pleasures. The next article is in the The next article is in the Word in Tech group. Microsoft announces open App Store rules to prove it's okay with new laws. So Microsoft has announced a set of best practices called the Open App Store Principles for its Windows App Store and future game console marketplaces. You click the link, go over to The Verge. A.D. Robertson and Sean Hollister wrote this article. Getting ahead of legislation and the competition. You know what? While I think the App Store is a great solution, it seems really clunky to me. I don't really like the way that it installs software. I'm old school though. I'm used to entirely just downloading from a website and installing it locally. I don't really like having to use the store. It's just another piece of software on a Windows machine that I don't need. All I need is the executable. Let me install it. Now, if there were all kinds of guarantees that none of the software on the store is compromised in any way, and it was fast and efficient, and you know, maybe, I don't know, but I just don't need the App Store. I guess that's just where I land. So I really hate it when I click on something and it tries to open the App Store. Anyway, they talk about the principles. They cover 4 areas. Quality, safety, security, and privacy is one of the 4 areas. Accountability, fairness, and transparency. Man, this is going to be such a wonky show. Fairness and transparency is the 3rd of the 4 areas, and developer choice is the 4th. You can go over to The Verge. Obviously, you can go to ohmTown and also do a search for Microsoft announces open App Store, and you'll get taken to the discussion board, and then you can click on visit the source. And you can always go to The Verge and do a search for Microsoft announces, and you'll find the article there. That is the source. So I expect you to go over there and read it and then come back to my chat and talk shop with me. The next article is mobile. That's where it's housed in the discussion board. And obviously there is a source for it. Scientists have seen the largest comet ever, 15 Mount Everest. The grand scheme of things, I guess that's big, but in the concept of space, it's pretty small. So visit the source, takes you to vice.com, and the article was written by Becky Ferreira. Let me scroll up a little bit here. Scientists have seen the largest comet ever, 15 Mount Everest. At 85 miles in diameter, the comet is twice as large as the previous record holder, and it's headed toward the sun. Well, let's hope it's not made of iron and causes the sun to change temperature. Scientists have confirmed the discovery of the largest comet ever spotted and further refined its dimensions at roughly 85 miles in diameter, which is about 15 times the altitude of Mount Everest and almost twice as big as the infamous comet Hale-Bopp. Pretty neat. Go over to Vice and read that article and come back and chat with me. Okay, this next article is in the Wanted group. Do-it-yourself mechanical switch lets you set its actuation point. Cherry MX switches are the most well-known in the mechanical keyboard world, and countless other brands mimic the switch's iconic cross-stem design to deliver tactile typing. Now a magnetic twist to the Cherry MX style has resulted in a 3D printable mechanical switch with an adjustable actuation point, which is awesome. I'm going to click this link. It takes you to Ars Technica, written by Sharon Harding. Sharon? I think it's pronounced Sharon Harding. The maglev switch MX uses neodymium magnets and a Hall effect sensor. So that's pretty neat. They got a picture of the Switch and like a cross section, industrial design, CAD drawing of it, showing the various parts of it. I think it's great that we are developing better and better technology for our keyboards. One of the things that I'd really like to see more of are split keyboards. Standard keyboards are really, really bad for your wrists. And if you are like me, you're spending upwards of 20 hours a day typing, right? So when your hands are like this, everything is normal, right? Your wrists aren't broken, but when you have to straighten your wrists out, but your elbows are sticking out, you end up breaking your wrist, and that messes with all of the arteries and veins in your wrist, and the joints and tendon, the bones start adjusting to your position, and then it's called repetitive strain injury or carpal tunnel. And it sends shooting pains down your hands and up your arms, and sometimes they go numb, and it's very painful, and sometimes you have to have surgery, and all of that. Just all of that sucks. You really don't want to be cut open for any particular reason at all. You never, well, it's my interpretation. You never really fully recover, because now you have internal scarring and external scarring, all because because manufacturers produce these single block keyboards instead of just us doing the ergonomic thing, more people adopting it, and then the costs drop to the same price as regular keyboards. We need split keyboards. It is the more human interaction for human computer interaction. So I am on team split keyboard. There you go. Go over to Ars Technica and you can read more about it. But yeah, cherry switches are pretty much when somebody talks about keyboard switches, they pretty much always talk about cherry at some point in the conversation. The next article is in Stock Marketeers, and I thought this was interesting. Taco Bell parent Yum Brands opened a new restaurant every 2 hours on average in 2021. Yum reported fourth quarter earnings on Wednesday, highlighting the number of new restaurants that were added to the global network last year. We'll click the link and it'll take us to MarketWatch. And I think it's amazing. Yum Brands ended the year with more than 53,000 restaurants. And when you hear from people about Taco Bell, everybody says it's horrible, it sucks. It's not Mexican food, it's not, it's this weird bastardization of American industrial food and, Spanish or Mexican, the taco meat doesn't have real meat in it, all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, I like it. I've never had an upset stomach from Taco Bell. I love the flavor, particularly their fire sauce is really flavorful. I dig it. Their bean burritos are amazing. And it's just beans and red sauce. And then I add the fire sauce to it. The nachos are great. Try to get them, midday when they're really, really fresh. So I've had a couple of times where they're just not the freshest, but I'm kind of a nacho snob. But I guess I can't say that, right? If you're a purist, and because you don't see Taco Bell as a real thing, which is going to bring me to something that we're going to talk about at the end of this. This next article is Stock Marketeers. Crypto is the category. Actually, Stock Marketeers is the group, and the title is Crypto. Super Bowl commercials will include crypto ads for the first time ever. I've been seeing more and more crypto. There's even a stadium that's taken over and that is crypto.com, I think it is. And they are making bank. They have to be making bank. So this is a Market Watch article as well, written by Weston Blasey or Blasey. Correct me if I'm wrong, Weston, if you ever hear about this. Yeah, so they changed the title. It says, welcome to the first crypto Super Bowl, crypto ads to run during the big game for the first time. There's always going to be a first. I wish they wouldn't change the title after they post the article. Just post another article. Anyway, crypto exchange platforms like FTX and crypto.com are shelling out millions for Super Bowl commercials this year. And yeah, it's really expensive. $7 million per slot. 30-second ads for this game, for this year's Superb Owl, went for $7 million per slot, which is a 20% increase from 2018. I just want to see the commercials live. I don't want to see them beforehand. Let's see if they're going to actually be broadcast. This next article is Stock Marketeers. What caught my eye about this is you're not allowed to do nudity on American televisions, like the broadcast market. The cable market is a little bit squishy, but for the most part, you're not allowed to do nudity. But here is an article within it's Market Watch, but they have different segments, and it's called The Margin. Adidas tweets pictures of bare breasts to push its new sports bras. So I'm going to click the link, and it'll take us to The Margin, which is like a category kind of within Market Watch, and they have a bunch of women dressed in sports clothing. And I can't scroll further down because it does have nudity, but they got around regulation by tweeting it, which I think is interesting. And it's, according to this, the article was written by Nicole Lynn. I think it might be Pesci. The promotion got Twitter's attention. Well, it's going to, because I don't think that you're allowed to tweet nudity. But I haven't read the article, and I actually have to be pretty careful about how far I go down the article. So we believe women's breasts in all shapes and sizes deserve support and comfort, reads the Post. It's part of Adidas promotion for its revamped collection of sports bras. That's wonderful. That's great. Let's see. Stopped plenty of social media scrollers in their tracks. The original tweet racked up several hundred retweets alongside thousands of quote tweets and likes in just a few hours. So, without going too far down this rabbit hole, so American television doesn't like nudity, but really loves violence. And it's so bizarre to me that Americans can't handle seeing a boob, but news and TV shows can show people being blown up, blown away, throats cut, people stabbed, all kinds of stuff. But you see a naked body and suddenly it's the end of the world. And I'm reminded of a conversation that I had regarding the social aspect of this. And for whatever reason, our Puritan ways in America just come bubbling back to the surface with a vengeance the moment we see skin. But those Puritan ways don't seem to mind the violence. But more people, and this is not my scientific perspective, obviously it's just anecdotal in my observations over the years. People really don't have a problem with the violence. But the nudity, just I don't get it. And I had a really long conversation with my son about other aspects of this, basically about self-control, that you shouldn't look at another person and think of them as an object that you can look at and oogle and all of that. And seeing somebody naked shouldn't suddenly cause uproar and outrage and concern and hatred and anger and all of these other emotions, not to mention the more adult side of things. It shouldn't matter, you know. There's a time and a place, and in other arenas, when somebody is naked, then the intent is there. But somebody just standing there, associated with marketing, it isn't there to there's so many words I want to say. I'm being kind of, my brain is saying be funny, but I'm trying to avoid it in this context. It shouldn't matter that it's an ad. So I grew up in Germany and for a short period of time, and I saw that kind of stuff all the time. And today I could probably care less that I see somebody topless walking down the streets of New York, because it's allowed in New York apparently. But it wouldn't bother me one bit, other than I would probably turn to my wife or whoever I'm with and go, you don't see that every day. And that would probably be the end of it. And it doesn't matter who they are or what they're doing. As long as they're not hurting themselves or somebody else, I could care less. And I think that's a little bit more of a reasoned response than the outrage. And this would have probably fined the advertiser and the channel if it was on television, but posted on the internet and it goes viral. Anything. So as long as it's comfortable, Adidas, good for you, game on, go for it, but make it comfortable for women. My gosh. Yeah, I'll just leave it there. Oh, I don't want to show this one yet. I'm going to have to come back to this one. We're going to come back and talk about that one later. So under the group Smack Talk, this is where we talk about Apple and its competitors in the context of Apple. Most U.S. cabinet departments have bought Cellbrite, the iPhone hacking tool. A new report claims that 14 out of 15 U.S. cabinet departments bought Cellbrite, the iOS unlocking technology, with the company saying 2,800 of its customers work in the government. You click on the link, it'll take you to Apple Insider. And basically this is kind of like it's a forensics tool. William Gallagher is the author of the article. Not particularly cheap. And it says Cellbrite has famously been unlocking iPhones for many years, and the data extraction app itself has had security vulnerabilities. Let me pause this. And nonetheless, it's been widely used around the world and even in U.S. public schools. And they go into greater detail about which ones it is, and also its clients include 6 out of 10 of the world's largest pharmaceutical companies and 6 out of the 10 largest oil refiners. Separately, the FBI has recently reported to have evaluated buying the NSO Group's more powerful Pegasus software for domestic surveillance, which all of it gets creepy when you start going down the dystopian rabbit hole. Anyway, if it can punch through the security of the operating system and hardware interaction, Apple will probably do a patch and try and stop it. But with every better mousetrap, you make smarter mice. This next article is drinking coffee. It's in the order of the bean. It's sourced from sprudge.com. Homemade coffee vodka is as easy as it is delicious. I recently got a rum hazelnut drink. If I can remember to bring the bottle up here, I'll show you the next time I stream, which is tomorrow. Hopefully I'll make it on time. I've got a ton of work going on, so I hope I can make it on time. Anyway, outrageously good homemade coffee vodka. Flavored vodka gets a bad rap. It's because unflavored vodka is just vodka. The vodkas that I buy have always been kind of flavorless. Maybe I'm getting the wrong thing. Largely flavorless. It tastes like vodka. Anyway, this is going to go into greater detail, so I urge you to go over to sprudge.com, drinking coffee, outrageously good homemade coffee vodka. Let's see if it goes into, there's the ingredients. A bottle of Monopoloa vodka, 20 grams of roasted whole bean coffee, 10 grams of Okinawa black sugar, and something to transfer it. So I suppose you just let it sit, and it will infuse. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So it's just an infusion, and you end up with coffee flavored vodka, which is a win, really. I would probably want to grind it and then filter it out, because all of the alcohol and the all of the alcohol is going to go through, and it's going to extract more coffee flavor, kind of like an espresso. Or drip coffee, I should say, be more specific, because you're not pushing the vodka through it. But go and check it out. Anything coffee is good. And maybe I'll try it. I'll get some good vodka and give it a shot. Let you know how it goes. The next article is in the Daily News Show, which is pretty much this show. Scientists fear soaring methane levels show climate feedback loop has arrived. If you've never heard of this, basically what it means by the feedback loop is because methane levels are increasing and heat is increasing, it's going to cause more methane to be released, and it's going to cause greater heat, and it's going to go back and forth until the global temperature, mean temperature, is increased above, I think it's like 1.4 degrees. And then at that point, basically we're done for. And we're getting dangerously close to it. And we're not going to learn our lesson until something really bad happens. And I would say either mass casualties somewhere because of global warming, where it's directly tied, and there is no, well, that's what the researchers are saying and all of that kind of stuff. It's either going to happen to a mass amount of people and impossible to ignore, or it's going to impact the ultra wealthy, and suddenly, for whatever reason, it suddenly gets addressed. Something happens. And there's a new policy comes into existence that stops whatever it is. So you mess with enough wealth and suddenly things turn around. And not necessarily for the betterment of all of society. Color me cynical on that one, but let's keep going. In the group Mobble, the weird and wonderful world of breeding sea stars. I thought this title was really interesting. I didn't know that there was a world of breeding sea stars. It takes a bit of work to get brittle stars in the mood to procreate in captivity. They need to be well fed in total darkness and convinced that the world is ending. That's the snippet that is in my aggregator. Click the link, go to phys.org. Adrian Berard from the College of William and Mary. Basically, these little brittle stars are these longer-legged sea stars, and I guess we're breeding them here on planet Earth, trying to make more of them. Let's see. Augie Davis, a graduate student, I suppose, of 2022, prepares mature brittle stars for spawning inside the Allen lab. I don't know if there's more to this. Anyway, go over to phys.org and do a search for Weird World Sea Stars. Or if you do a search for the weird and wonderful world of breeding sea stars, you'll pull up this article. So yeah, if you ever thought that there isn't, if you are interested in something as a viewer and you think, you know what, there just aren't people that are interested in what I'm interested in, guess again. There is always an audience for whatever it is that you are interested in. I can almost guarantee it. And if there are fewer people, it's almost as if they are even more passionate about it. In the Warcrafters group over on ohmTown, a segment of an article from PC Gamer is in the discussion board. It's titled Blizzard's Hiring for a New Entry in an Established IP. That's all apparently that is written. They're looking for a lead content designer in an unannounced project. And man, maybe I'll apply for that. Anyway, you click the link, go over to PC Gamer, and they talk about it more. Anyone might think the company's on a PR offensive. So yeah, Blizzard has been kind of slammed lately with sexism and harassment and I guess other things. And so they've been working on other newer projects. I wish, and this is something that I said recently to an associate of mine, that I wish I used to play all the way back in the beta versions of World of Warcraft. It was a different time, a different space where the whole of World of Warcraft was about the story. And nowadays, and it's long form story, so you would run around the world and do all kinds of stuff, and it was fun. Nowadays, it's rush to get to the end game content, grind again and again and again in the same boss zone, just so a raid or whatever you want to call it, just so that you can learn the mechanics of a battle and complete that boss. But that's not what, at least I don't think that's what most players want. Most players, the ones that I guess gave it its start, are interested in the story and they want to go and do the quests that lead the story along. I can speak for that segment of people. The ones that want long form story, bring back the long form story. Let us play the game, even if there's all kinds of these, go and do quests, where you're just running from one place to another to pick up supplies and bring them back and run messages and kill this number of mobs or whatever. I would rather do that for hours than to just sit there and do the same boss over and over and over again. I want the story to drive my engagement. But maybe it doesn't make economic sense for Blizzard or anyone to do that. And really the only thing that makes economic sense is for those diehard players that their objective is to grind that boss. which is a weird turn of phrase, but whatever. So this last article that I'm going to read today, or that I'm going to talk about, is in the Mobile group. I listened to a podcast, or not a podcast. Yeah, it was a podcast, but it was a news show. After I had clicked on this, it just happened to appear in my podcast app. Birds aren't real. Inside a Gen Z conspiracy theory. You click the link and you're taken to New York Times. The article, this might actually be hosted by Annie Coriel, produced by Rochelle Bonha, Chelsea Daniel, and Austin Mitchell. And then there's other things. Oh, it is the Daily. Okay, so this is what I actually heard from the Daily. I didn't know that it was going to be here on New York Times. So this is what I heard, but this is a small little bit. Basically what it comes down to is somebody thought that it was really outlandish, that they were watching a movement and a counter movement basically happening around the election. And so he grabbed a white piece of paper and wrote down "birds aren't real," and it turned into a thing, and it's still going. Basically the movement is that all birds have been eradicated and replaced with a surveillance device. The birds are drones, but hyper realistic, and anything, all birds, not just like pigeons in New York, all birds. And then they made other additional signs like, what was it? Something like, stay away from ducks because they've been upgraded with a new firmware. I'm paraphrasing because I don't recall the exact bird. But anyway, all birds have been replaced with drones. And when you buy chicken, it's actually synthetic meat because there are no chickens. They've all been expunged since 1946 or something like that. And it's continuing to this day. And I think it's hilarious. Does it stop? Yeah. Every bird is a government surveillance drone. And it's just some guy who was homeschooled. He disclosed that he was part of basically like a fundamentalist group. And when he went to college, that's when he broke out of that kind of a silo of what was real and what wasn't real. And that's pretty much, that's a lot of reality there. It's not just that one single person, but education and interacting with other people and becoming part of a society that is bigger than the microcosm that you were born into and raised up in. When you break away from that, you're exposed to others and other cultures and other perspectives, and you learn a lot. And you know what? That darn book learning, it ruins everything. Yes, that is a lot of sarcasm there. Anyway, go and check it out. It's at the New York Times, and it's the Daily. That's where I got the, that's where I heard the podcast as well. So you can actually pull up the podcast and listen to it yourself. At any rate, that's all that we have for today. And I hope that you got something out of this. Again, this is going to be posted eventually over to YouTube and on Apple Podcasts. Might post it in other places, just don't know yet. And it's kind of difficult to include all of the links and stuff in the podcast version of it. But I will include the links in the descriptions from now on, and we'll go from there. Okay, so if you have any questions or comments, obviously you can go to ohmTown.com. You can send me messages on Twitch. I'm not really doing much on YouTube yet. I'm not really doing much on Twitter. I'm pretty firmly ensconced in Twitch. So get in touch with me either way. If you have something to say, if you are interested in being a host or a co-host, just get in touch with me. Okay. I think that's enough for today. And thank you very much for coming. I'll see you tomorrow.